Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode number 29 of the Dota Show. Now, technically, this is airing out of its normal time slot. Today is not going to be Dota 101. It's going to be Getting That Ass Larry. We're going to focus on Tinker today. So if you're looking for that Suicide Lane episode, sorry, I had to move it. I just didn't have enough time to prepare it. Whereas the Tinker, I've already been working on this one for a while. So it was ready to go. Here we are. So Tinker today will have the Suicide Lane happening not tomorrow, but the following day on my channel. But today it's Tinker, and boy, I think this is the most excited I've been for an episode, because this game was a treat for me to play. I think it was rather painful for my opponents, but it's something I haven't done in a while, and, well, I found it very exciting. I think you guys will too. But before we dive into all that, let's catch up, shall we? So, I have a cat. I think a lot of you know this. She is known as El Gato, occasionally, when I'm a little annoyed at her. Technically, her name's Sophia. She can be a sweetheart. She's very canine, all right, because like she loves affection. You know how cats are traditionally sort of considered these solitary animals that they'll hunt on their own, they'll live on their own in the wilderness, or when they do interact with each other, it's not like dogs where there's this pack mentality. They're just not very social animals in general. Well, my cat's the exception, and sometimes I love it. Like she loves to like cuddle with me in bed and just like be very friendly and lets me scratch her head and that sort of thing. It's better than a lot of cats I've experienced where they basically hate me. They want nothing to do with me, and I'm not muted, am I? No, I'm not. So paranoid about that still. Oh man, like I just clicked the mute button, but I want to make sure. But cats are just so friendly. Or most cats are not very friendly, is what I was trying to say. But this cat really is. And so she's Sophia normally. Elgato, she's a little annoyed. And then sometimes it's just profanity. She just would not stop meowing today. I've never seen her like this. She has food. She has water. Her litter box was just clean. She got to play earlier. Yeah, she's a cat. She entertains herself. Like, what do you need from me? Oh my god, I was going straight at my roommate, who's the cat technically. I moved in after he had the cat. It's his old roommate. It was passed on to him because the place the new roommate was moving, they couldn't have animals there. So he's dealt with her for a while, and he's never seen her like this the past week or so. She just won't shut up, and she's not sick. She seems very healthy. All the vital signs are good. There's just no explanation. She just wants too much damn attention. And I'm sorry, Sophia, if you're listening. I'm sorry, Elgato, if you're watching the VOD. But just shut the hell up! Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Ah! Oh, she just would not stop meowing. It's amazing how distracted it is. Oh my god. Oh, alright. So, that's my cat. I love her to death, but today she's been a little irritating. And other news, I got my plane tickets for the international too. My lodging's been confirmed. By the way, I have a king size bed and a room all to myself. I'm pretty excited about that. Now I don't think I'll actually be sleeping very much, so it's probably gonna go to waste. But I'm glad the option is there if I want to, relax and just I can do it. So I'm excited about that. I'm arriving August 29th in the morning, 10 a.m. PST. If any of you guys are going to be there, by the way, and you'd like to meet up or say hi, I'm not sure how much time I'll have, but I'd love to try and do it. So if you are going to be going, post to my Facebook or Twitter, or message me on Twitter, and just let me know where you're going to be if you'd like to meet up, and I'll see what I can do. And I'm leaving on September 3rd at 11:15 PST. So I am super excited, man. There's been so much coverage coming out recently. Well, like whether you're reading Reddit or joining Dota or GhostGamers, the anticipation is building. It's building. It's building. Meanwhile, I'm trying to conserve my voice because I watched Toby cast the other day, and I don't want that to be me. I'm not a trained vocalist like him. I know he's been sick, but I'm really trying to take care of myself now. So hopefully my voice holds up, but I'm super excited. The last little piece of news, or something that I want to actually, you guys, because you're tuning in the live stream, I'm going to give you a sneak peek at something pretty amazing. It's a new series of new appearing flags. If you're watching me play pubs last night, you probably already saw this. I'm only going to show a couple of minutes of it. This is not finalized. It still need to do some video editing, but this will be a new series where basically we look through Pyrian's games together. And for anyone who doesn't know, Pyrian does very funny YouTube guides, tongue-in-cheek, kind of ironic stuff. YouTube.com/Ted himself. He's been posting them on Reddit. They've been getting a lot of praise. But he's really bad at Dota, and so I have a lot of fun making fun of him. I'm going to give you guys a sneak peek of this now. Again, if you already saw it, I'll only show a minute or two. But if this whets your appetite, then make sure you're subscribed to me on YouTube, youtube.com/LDdota, because that's where the series will be. And without any further ado, I give you, hey guys, a fascinating journey inside the mind of Pyrian Flex. And if I could just get my XSplit to show up. Guys, it's me, L. No. Damn it, it's doing this thing where. Oh, how do I get it not to stay on top? Sorry. There we go. Alright. Without any further ado, a fascinating journey inside the mind of Pyrian Flex. Hey guys, it's me, LD, and joining me today is the one, the only. That's your cue.
Pyrian Flex. So
Swearing,
I was told it was
some
going to be
entertainment.
very educational, and I was going to be instructing a lot of people on how to play, giving a lot of tips, all the things I've picked up along the way. No? Not so much? It's ever been. I must have been on something.
But we don't care about any of these other schmucks. It's all about Pyrian here on his list. Something I would like to point out is, where the hell is this Enchantress right now? You don't know, because you don't have a ward to see her. You have a ward. Something I would like to point out is, this right now.
Here we go!
You have a ward.
Actually, subsequent to that, to watching that. Oh, here we go!
That's not your base, Pyrian.
What? Why?
Alright, so explain, riddle me this. You are a 600 range hero who's got a nuke that's got a long range. Why the hell are you standing in the middle of the creep wave, man? God damn it, what are you doing?
Well, my friend had introduced me to Dota 2. Amdis is his player name. And he said, like, he played with me again recently, he said, a fascinating journey inside the mind of Pyrian Flex, like when he played a game with me. Because he's like, oh, now I understand why you're terrible, because you have these awful ideas about what you're meant to be doing.
And again! You're almost dying 1v1 to this, or 2v1 to this DK.
I thought we'd paused. Oh my
no,
God.
You were there. You were controlling. No excuses for you, mister. If you want to harass him, don't run through the creep wave to do it. Run around the creep wave, to the side of it. But you're at the side shop. I don't know what you're doing here. You don't have gold for anything at the side shop. You're just sort of hanging out there, trying to hide.
I sometimes check in. I like to check in and see what's going on. What are the special offers?
Here? What are you doing here?
I sometimes stop into the shop and check my list of suggested items to buy. I'm lurking with the intention of surprise attacking somebody probably without communicating. There you go. I surprise attack Dragon Knight. My plan is I'm going to surprise attack Dragon Knight. He'll never think I'm in here. And now you realize Wisewood's running away because Chargers is going to come in. Yeah.
Couple of blunders here for you guys in the bottom lane. It's probably about as bad as I've ever seen a lane go.
I'm just keeping it up. That's my game.
You're here to chill.
Terrible. I'm just gonna chill in lane. Look how close I am.
What are you doing? Move! Move!
Why? God almighty, what was I doing? You've had like a tooth extracted. You don't pull another tooth out and just to remind you about the first tooth extraction. You try to forget, so from my mind.
Alright, here we go. Here we go. You run next to the Juggernaut.
Just standing there!
You don't use your nuke. You don't chase. You try to KS.
Yeah!
Period.
And like, I'm watching myself here, and I always seem to be at the forefront of every fight. I'm like stood next to the enemy for no fucking reason. Just stood there, just chilling out. It's unbearable.
But I'm not sure because you're still clicking around seemingly.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if there's a reason for the clicking, but like you kind of just click right next to yourself a lot.
Cast you did the other day where you looked at my Earthshaker game, where you said, look how much of like behind you're focusing on. I've tried to stop doing that. Like I try to angle the camera, not in this game, but I try to now focus the camera more on what's in front. But you're kind of used to playing games where your dude is in the middle of the screen. In this game, I won't. My camera will be firmly fixed. I will keep myself in the middle of the screen, like I'm some kind of cameraman watching some fascinating animal on the plains of the savannah. I'm like, we gotta keep it on. Yeah, the lesser spotted Pyrian Flex. And I'm gonna keep him in the middle of the frame at all times because Lich running across the map is so fucking fascinating. You don't want to miss a fucking second of that.
Alright. I know you guys, a lot of you probably want to see the whole thing, but we actually do have a show. So if you enjoyed that, if you want to check out more of it, it will be available soon on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/LDdota. But I'm sure a lot of you are here for the Dota show, so let's dive into it. It's going to be old school Tinker, and let's talk a little bit about Tinker. But before we do that, I'm going to close this, and I'm going to get myself into the game. Here we go. Alright, so let's very quickly review Tinker's skills and some of his strengths as a hero, for those of you who aren't familiar with him. So Tinker is a pretty squishy intelligence hero. He gives you a lot of burst damage. He's a great pushing hero, thanks to March of the Machines. Even Laser can kill some creeps off. He scales really well into the late game, and he gives you potential for permanent lockdown on multiple heroes because of a very unique ultimate called Rearm, and we'll talk about that. But basically, it will reset the cooldowns on almost all of your items. There's a few it doesn't work on, like BKB being a notable one. But generally, items like Scythe of Vice, Eul Scepter, you can keep on rearming these and using them again. So, in theory, Tinker is a permanent disable for anybody you want to deal with. Now, that all sounds great, right? But there are some downsides to this hero. He's squishy as hell. He needs a lot of farm. He has no built-in mobility. And he's squishy as hell. Did I mention that? So that combination, having no built-in mobility skills and needing a lot of farm, it makes him pretty easy to kill in the early to mid game. Normally it does. Now, the traditional way to play Tinker, it used to be to go with laser and rockets, but recently there's been this obsession with going for rockets and March of the Machines, just getting 1 point in laser for the blind effect. We'll talk about why that trend has developed, but let's quickly review the skills. So for laser, this is a pure damage ability. At level 1, it gives you 100% miss rate. The only thing that happens when you level up is it gets a lot more expensive, the mana cost goes way up, and it does a hell of a lot more damage. This is amazing burst damage. 320 pure damage, it's about equivalent to, I want to say like a 380, 400 damage regular nuke, because it's pure, so it ignores heroes built-in magic resistance. Really, really powerful spell to have, especially against heroes that have high armor, like agility heroes like Anti-Mage, for example. This laser will still hit him extremely hard. Or built-in additional magic resistance. Or, what am I talking about? Armor. I mean magic resistance, sorry about that. Or even heroes that like to build things like a pipe or a cloak. So, laser, very strong burst damage, but even if you're not going to level it up, you want to get at least 1 point all the time, because it will blind targets for 3 seconds. Very good for dealing with right-click carries. Then we have Heat-Seeking Missile, or I call them rockets, a lot of people do too, but the name is Heat-Seeking Missile. This does magical damage. You have to have vision of the two heroes that you're hitting, but it's got really long range. It scales pretty well. Again, the two things that go up for this spell are the damage as well as the mana cost. Now, the cooldown, don't really worry about. None of the cooldowns in Tinker are relevant after the early to mid game, because that's where you get rearm, and then you can actually just refresh the cooldowns automatically. So it seems long, but in reality, it's really not that long. It will hit up to 2 targets. I believe it's the 2 closest ones. So if you want to try and hit somebody, try and position yourself so that they're the closest target. And this is great for punishing aggression. It's great for softening up heroes from afar. Pretty versatile spell. This one you'll almost always see at max, regardless of what build you're going for. The third skill, this is the big one, March of the Machines. The trend right now, especially in the pro scene, but even in pubs, you see it a lot. There's this trickle-down effect nowadays in Dota 2. If the pros do it first, everyone else wants to follow. March of the Machines is the most popular skill right now to max on Tinker in almost every game. You will see sometimes pros don't max it first, but generally this is the ability that everyone goes for. Does a bunch of AoE damage. It's a little bit random which units get hit, but essentially your whole screen is just covered with these little machines, and you'll see it later in the game. They do a ton of damage. Very good for farming. You can stack Ancients and then farm them with March. That's the sort of the new style of Tinker that we see a lot, is you max out March of the Machines, you max out Missile, you only get 1 point in Laser. And then you stack Ancients, you farm those, and you put pressure all over the map. It's really good for anti-pushing as well. And nowadays, there is so much pushing going on that it can be very effective, as pushing is one of the popular things. So, we're not going to talk about that March of the Machine skill build too much. I mentioned essentially how it develops. You get 1 point in Laser. For the miss chance, you get rearm at 6, you max March of the Machines by 7, and you make sure to constantly stack and farm Ancients once you've your Soul Ring up. March of the Machines, that's the popular build. That's the build du jour, but we're not going to talk too much about it. For Laser and Rockets, this is the old school way to play Tinker, and you'll still see sometimes it is the better build. It's not always better to go for March of the Machines. It's a situational kind of thing. And we'll talk more, and maybe that'd be a good thing for you guys asking questions, is when would you want to go Laser Rockets versus March of the Machines? But if you go Laser Rockets, generally you want to max Laser and Heat-Seeking Missile by level 8. The only time you get a point in rearm earlier is if you're going to have something like your Boots of Travel up by that point. Because then you want to be able to rearm your Boots of Travel so that you can TP around the map much more freely. But if you don't have them by 8, if you're not going to have them by 8, then maxing Laser and Heat-Seeking Missile is the way to go. Now, it depends on the situation. Sometimes you want to max Laser first. Sometimes you want to max Heat-Seeking Missile first. Laser is much more cost-effective single target damage. So if you're mostly dealing with a 1v1, Laser is going to be better. If you're up against a dual lane, if you're expecting people to be ganky or tower diving you, or you want to come to team fights earlier, and you're not going the March field, then maxing Heat-Seeking Missile first will help you more. This is sort of the safer one to max, because you can also spam it from much farther away. The range is way longer than Laser. But sometimes Laser will be the way to go. So either way, max both of those by 8. Get a point in rearm once you have your Boots of Travel. Then you go back to March of the Machines. You max that next. The one thing I want to caution everybody about is don't level up rearm too soon. Rearm, when you level it up, the time to rearm goes down by 1 second per level, and you'll see this makes a huge difference later on in the game. But early to mid game, it is very mana intensive, and until you get some mana items up that increase your mana pool, it can be a little bit hard to actually support a leveled up rearm. So a lot of times, what you'll want to do is just get the 1.6 or whenever you have your Boots to Travel, and then avoid leveling it up until you can actually afford it. So you get adult talisman. Something that boosts your mana pool, maybe an ultimate orb working towards a Scythe of Vice, a Mystic Staff working towards the Shivas, even a Dagon, whatever you build that gives you mana, that's where you can level this up. But by 16, you should level all your abilities up. Tinker's not a hero you generally want to get stats on. Okay, that pretty much covers the build. And real briefly, the big benefit to doing laser and rockets is it gives you a lot more burst damage. It's really easy to turn fights into a 5v4 or 4v3 instantly because you can just pick heroes off. And that's why we see things like Shotgun Morphling being very popular with the early Ethereal Blade Rush. It's not really just because you do a lot of damage. It's because you can instantly kill a hero before the fight starts. And then you just, what would have been a 5v5 is now 5v4. The other benefit to it is you're never really going to steal farm from your team. If you go for the March of Machines build, you can farm Ancients, but oftentimes you'll also see those Tinkers spamming March to push lanes out. If your opponents are really trying to push towers, that's great. But if you have a hard carry and you're TPing all over the map, we see this with Prophets too, right? Especially in pubs. They go for the early Midas, the Aghanim's, and they just constantly spam that ultimate, and it means there's nowhere for the team to farm. So if you have other farm-dependent heroes on your team, sometimes Laser and Rockets will be better. Now, like I said, you can still farm the Ancients even if you go March build, so it's not always bad to go March, and it doesn't always mean you'll take farm away. But, and this is the big one, Laser Rockets is just a hell of a lot more fun. This is the more enjoyable build to me, especially in pub games. You get to kill, what's better than pew pew pew? It's a trick question. There's nothing better. Pew 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 pew. There's a reason why he has sound effects like that. It's just so much fun. Just melt your opponents. Just instantly destroy them with burst damage. It's more exciting than slowly watching their HP tick down or stacking Ancients over and over. Sure, that might be more effective, but that's boring as hell, man. We want fun. So, with all that being said, I've been talking a lot. Let's jump into this game, and we'll take a look at. Oh, the last thing I wanted to actually bring up before we jump into it. It really depends on the game as far as what Tinker's role will be. He's one of the most versatile heroes in Dota. He's not really your traditional damage dealer in the sense he's not a right-click hard carry, but because of rearm, he can permanently chain spam a lot of nukes, so do good magical damage that way. And he could also chain spam disables if you want to do that. And if you get something like Shiva's that gives you, or Dagon, it gives you even more burst damage to work with. So he can be your team's damage dealer and be sort of that one position, but generally, we're going to see you'll see him more as a 2. He'll apply a lot of pressure and he'll buy time for the team's hard carry to get huge, something like a Morphling and Anti-Mage. And of course, Tinker provides you a lot of utility in team fights, so he's not a hard carry, but he can sort of function as one if he gets enough farm. As far as intelligence heroes goes, he's one of the best, if not the best, up there with heroes like Prophet and Storm. I'd say a little bit stronger than Storm, and actually probably significantly stronger than Storm in the late game, but it does depend on the items. So either way, Tinker, one of the strongest intelligence heroes, but again, not a hard carry. Generally, you won't want to be the primary farmer on your team. But if you are, it's not all bad. Okay, so we jump ourselves into the game, and I'm just going to put it on player perspective. As you can see, this is a rather short game, but don't you worry, it is very, very action-packed.
The battle begins.
So this was actually an in-house that I ran on my stream. I'm not going to promise you guys that all the players of this game are super high skill. You will see some sloppy plays. It was late for me. I was tired. I'm not going to play perfectly. But this will showcase the versatility and I think the excitement of playing a laser rocket Tinker. So I'm going mid. Stand up there when you go mid. Block the creep wave. Pull it back to your tower. My opponent is kind of late getting to the lane. He actually goes to check the rune, so he's not going to be blocking it. So I'm going for the laser rockets build. You always want to get laser at 1 because it gives you the blind chance. And my endgame is kind of loud, so I have to turn down my speaker or my headphones. Oh, much better. I can hear myself talk now. Yeah, so laser, you always want to get it at level 1. The reason for this is it does more single target damage, but more importantly, and in fact, much more importantly, it gives you this blind chance. So you can use it on your opponent, and then that gives you 3 seconds where he can't last hit without using a spell. And this really helps you lane control. Tinker also has a really nice attack animation. And good base damage, 57. We could actually compare me to Storm. He's got a little bit more, but I've got a pretty good animation, and you're gonna see as this game progresses that in a lane like this, where I'm up against a squishy intelligence hero. Oh, the courier gets missed micro! Oh, that's okay though. It lives. Yeah, like I said, kind of a sloppy game by me. I'm only level 2, but you can see between my auto attacks, the laser, as well as rockets, I am able to do a lot of damage and really zone Storm out of the lane. So, this build, very effective 1v1 in the laning stage. That's generally, if you're gonna be up against someone like Storm as well, who's not really strong until later on, this build is gonna be very helpful. Anyone who relies on auto attacks, anyone who doesn't have the best lane presence, you can really dominate them in the early stages. He gets a rune, he comes back in, he's going to do some damage, and you're actually going to see, he might have been able to just trade blows with me a little bit there, or try and stay in range for another nuke, but he opts to back off, and that's the beauty of Laser, is if he wants to fight you, it's not going to be easy for him to do so. So my focus right now will be on last hitting. For Tinker, you want to get hero kills, especially if you're going this build, but the best way to get those hero kills in the mid game is to get a really fast pair of boots of travel. We're gonna see. I'm only level 3. I'm only really using laser to harass here, unless I think I need the rockets as well. Like when he was on top of me, I was a little bit worried about him trying to fight me. So I got my bottle. Now I'm gonna go for boots, and then boots of travel is the next step. Now you'll see Tinkers oftentimes they'll just opt for a soul ring, especially if they're in the side lane. If they're gonna be farming ancients a lot early, that's great. But if you're going solo mid, you're 1v1, and you have something like a prophet on your team, there's a good chance you'll be able to control the runes. So you should get a bottle. You can go back for the soul ring as well, and you should. You need the soul ring in the mid game to be able to fuel your nuke spam. And typical for me, I love my bottle crow. It was an in-house, and so I asked the team if they minded, and they didn't. And you're gonna see this allows me to stay in lane. I don't have to go check the rune. He's already falling way behind. If we look at actually the level discrepancy here, well, he's not as far behind as I thought he would be, but this wade's going to push into the tower, and he's going to start missing some last hits here. So if you're bottle crowing, the nice thing about it is you don't really have to miss any experience. I'm also denying pretty well, but again, my focus will be on last hitting. And Storm is not really doing too much on this lane, and I would say, you know, he's not playing perfectly, but he's really not playing badly either. This is just a very difficult matchup for a hero like Storm, especially if you go for the laser rockets build. If I go for March, you can harass them and get a lot of farm for yourself, but you can't really do as much to kill them. And this lane, laser rocket, I'm going to easily kill him off. And that's the burst damage that Tinker provides. I think I had about an extra 100 damage or so beyond what I needed. When he's about at half health, I can just kill him. And now I'm level 5, and this is where things start to get really rough. 240 pure damage. Look at his HP pool right now. For some reason, yeah, he's got 587 HP. My laser only costs 150 mana, and it does almost half of that in pure damage, which means it's not reduced. That's half of his HP pool. So you can, what you normally are going to want to do in the lane is soften him up with laser a couple of times and just wait for the cooldown. And then once you're ready, I continue to bottle crow because the lane is not pushed out. This is the downside to running the laser rockets build, is you don't really have the best rune control because you can't push the lane as easily. You can try to do so by lasering a creep, but I'm actually messing up my bottle crow. I think I just might have been drinking this game. But I'll step things up, don't you guys worry. So again, I'm controlling the runes, or controlling the lane as best I can, focusing on getting last hits. Whenever he shows up in lane, I drop a laser to harass him. And you soften him up once or twice with that, then you go for the kill with the laser rockets combo. The key thing for me in this lane is to keep on killing him multiple times before he hits 6. He's already about level 5, but he's still way off 6 because he died. So I'm ahead of him. And you're going to see once my courier comes back, I really go for the kill here to try and slow him down. Once I hit 7, 320 pure damage. That is half his HP. In fact, it's more than half his HP. And it's, guess what? It cost me 150 mana. It's on a 14-second cooldown. So I can really... One laser, and he's pretty much got to go back to base. He tries to fight me here. And we're going to see that doesn't really work out for him very well. He doesn't have boots yet. I know he's not 6, so I'm going to tower dive him. I get fogged here for a second. Pretty nice job juking by him. Just not quite enough. If he had his pull-up, he could have turned that around and killed me, but it wasn't pull-down. And you can see the frustration is mounting, and this is just the beauty of the laser rocket build. It's just so hard to lane against Tinker 1v1. If you're playing against the laser rocket Tinker, the best thing you could do is just to gank him. Because when multiple heroes are coming in, he's still very squishy. And early on, he's not going to burst anyone down that quickly. But if it's just a straight 1v1, it's someone like Storm. It's not someone who's an escape mechanism. It's someone who doesn't really get strong until level 6. It's gonna be very rough for him. So I find a haste for him. And because I'm laser rocket, this means at least one, possibly two kills are gonna be coming my way. So I ping top. They don't have a ward here. Normally the Dire won't because they normally have their wards down the bottom lane. They actually don't have any this game, but even if they did with the haste turn, probably wouldn't be able to get the kill. Now, I laser the guy that's got more health to maximize the damage here. I use some right clicks to finish off the disruptor, and now I go back in for the Undying. I was trying to last hit both of those kills. I think Rogue might die to the zombies. I'm trying to help him out a little bit. No, he'll be okay. Yeah, those zombies, they're pretty low level. They still hurt a lot. So the reason I made sure to last hit that second kill is because I want to get my boots of travel as quickly as possible. So it's 7 minutes in. I have 29 CS, which is okay, not great. Certainly not as much as a March Tinker would have. But I'm 4-0-0. And that means I have my boots of travel. I also got first blood, and that's where things start to get really painful. Now, I didn't expect to have these boots of travel quite this fast. That's why I maxed out laser rockets. Fortunately, because I got so many kills, I'm almost level 9. So the goal for me right now, hit level 9, get a point and rearm, and then I can keep on rearming my boots of travel. I can keep on going around the map, setting up ganks, setting up kills for the team. My stream is still up, right? Yeah, okay. I thought the stream was down for a second. So again, he shows up like this is the laser rocket combo. It only gets more painful. He has his ult so he can live, but what is he gonna do? He can't farm. I get level 9, I immediately head back to base. So this is the basic approach. You go into lane, you do all your stuff, you try to get a kill, then you head back, you rearm, you TP back to base with the boots of travel. And once you have a soul ring, every time you rearm, you want to make sure to use that soul ring. And we're gonna set up a kill mid. Just too easy. Actually, I don't even help out here. Prophet ult picks him off. This is probably the saddest storm you'll ever see. he looked to be dead anyway, though. I don't know if he even had mana. Now, if you're Storm in this situation, you can disjoint. And I missed my rocket, so I really shouldn't have dived this. Yeah, I'm not going to. Again, I got fogged. When you're up against Tinker, you want to try and... If you are able to fog him, first of all, he can't target with the laser, and more importantly, he can't... His rockets won't hit you. You have to have vision for them to hit. So, I drop low, but the beauty of the early boots of travel is that I can just TP back to base, and they don't have too many disables. Now, when you're up against Tinker, one of the most important things to have is a lot of lockdown for him. Whether that comes in the form of something like Smoke Cloud, and that's just not fair. But this is really painful. If Tinker gets this big this early, what you need to do is try and set up some baits to kill him off, because he's going to show up and look for kills. I'm actually trying to share my bottle with DK, and I'm going to head back to base. Another nice little trick you can do with Tinker once you reboot to travel, you can go refill that bottle whenever you need to do it, so be very generous, share it with your team. I probably could have shared multiple charges, but at least I give him something, so you can kind of be, it's sort of like being a free courier, coming in with a salve and a clarity potion. So I go back mid, I want to keep Storm down, instantly the laser, he's down to half health. If he comes back lane again, he's probably dead. So it's, at this point, I'm just applying pressure all over the map, and Tinker is all about applying pressure as a hero. But the normal way you'll see pros apply pressure is they go for March the Machines, and they'll push lanes. If you try and tower dive, the March will just chew apart supports. That March build, like I was talking about, so great when you're up against a bad lane or when you're up against coordinated opponents. Because it really makes aggression very difficult. This build, much more powerful offensively, but not going to offer you as much defensively. Now, the one thing it gives you, either way, you get pressure. Whether it's pushing power, whether it's anti-push, or whether it's this build, where you're just getting a lot of burst damage. So, regardless of what build you go for, you want to be constantly applying pressure all over the map. Tinker, he's not a hero that you just want to blindly farm on. He's not... And I'm going to go bottom. Riki's level 7, so I should not be able to kill him. I don't have Dust picked up, but I'm going to correct that for my next gank. So this is the basic idea. You TPN, you go use your nukes, you use the Soul Ring, then you rearm, and then you go back. This way you maximize your mana usage, because the Soul Ring gets rearmed. And between Soul Ring and Bottle, you can spam multiple waves of all your nukes, for at least 2 if not 3, before having to go back to base. Yeah, you know, what Vic Frank's saying I think is oddly insightful, because Tinker's always going to be there. Like, it's not even like Prophet where his TP has a cooldown. Basically, Tinker will be there within 5 seconds whenever he wants to. Now, I have a point in March. I'm not seeing kill opportunities, and this is something important. Even if you go for the laser rockets build, don't try and force the kills, because ultimately you are very squishy. You don't have any disables, you don't have any escape mechanisms until you get items up. So when I don't see the openings to get kills, I'm just going to farm. Now, as soon as I see them, I'm going to look for them, and this is where you want to have a very close eye on the minimap. Soul Ring used again, and you can see my mana pool increased by quite a bit. Now, as soon as I cancel my TP top, a fight breaks out there. I thought they were going to back, but it's okay. One more rearm, the Soul Ring used, I TP in. And this guy is very screwed. One more laser, there we go, he's going to take a fall. And next we go onto the Riki. And Riki can be a very good hero to deal with mine. I dropped the March because I'm a little bit afraid at him being able to kill me. And even though it's only a level 2 March, it's enough to scare him off. What I could have possibly done there is rearm and try to kill him with a laser, or kill the Disruptor with a laser rocket. But I have to go for the safe play, which is just to get the hell out of there. I'm riding a big kill streak, I'm very far ahead, and you're a momentum hero, so sometimes you just gotta choose your spots, and this time, I choose to play it a little safe. But you can see, I TP in bottom, and look at this Earthshaker. He's gotta run back to base at half health. That's how brutal this Tinker can be. Really the bane of any underleveled support, especially with this build. I happen to be in the vicinity of a rune, so I'm gonna go for it. Now, Tinker is a hero that can get the runes, and you know, when you go mid, I like to get the bottle, because before you get rearm, before you get your boots of travel, rune control will be pretty important. But generally speaking, you don't need to get the runes. It's not like he relies on them, because once you have those boots of travel and the rearm up, you can always go back to base if you need mana. So the only reason I'm really going for the rune there is to deny it to Storm, not because I need it myself. And that's something to keep in mind. Don't waste too much time going after runes as a hero like Tinker, unless it's a good killing rune. Well, I see Earthshaker TP in. I'm going to TP on top of a big creep wave, and at least try and force an Echo Slam. It's not going to happen. Now, I have a Staff of Wizardry up. This can be many things. Generally, when you go this build, you want some form of mobility. So that you can hit, because after the early to mid game, your laser rocket combo won't be enough to kill people instantly. So you need 2 rounds of it, at least 2 lasers or 2 rockets, at plus 1 of the other to get a kill. And that's where, oh, I'm gonna go admit. I'm gonna pause for a second, so you guys aren't missing the action while I'm talking. But that's where you really want to make sure that you have some form of mobility so that you can actually stay in range. Because like I said, Tinker has no mobility skills. Sure, I got Boots of Travel, they give you decent move speed. More so than anything except for phase boots, but it's not enough. It's not enough. This is where you need something like a Force Staff or a Blink Dagger to keep the pressure up and to be able to chase heroes who have escape mechanisms like Storm, like Riki. So it gives you equal footing. Anyway, we'll jump back in. My TP got cancelled, I believe, or I just decided there are too many heroes. And that's something also to keep in mind. I see a lot of new Prophet players make this mistake as well. You can cancel that TP, and with Tinker there's really no investment. You lose a couple of seconds, but make sure that you don't feel committed. If you ever feel like it's a risky situation, just press S, and you can rearm and reload. That's what the default hotkey is anyway. But yeah, just rearm your boots to travel, and then go find a safer place to go. Again, I don't really see good openings to kill, so I'm just gonna push. Because I got so many levels early, you'll actually see that I'm already level 12, so I have some points in a March. Normally you won't do quite this well. Like, this is pretty rare for Tinker to get this good of a start. I had a good lane. My opponents didn't really try to shut me down. Like I said, you really want to gank Tinker early, especially if he goes this build, because he can't punish it. March of the Machines is much worse than tower dive against. But once you give Tinker this kind of momentum, even if he's not killing you with the laser rockets, he's pushing with the March Machines. And you're going to see that they just are constantly running around trying to deal with it. And they just don't have the mobility to do so. Even with Storm, who can be a very good counter to Tinker if he gets a good start. So, I'm pushing top. I know there's a bunch bottom, so that's why I'm not really afraid to be aggressive here. And again, the simple combo, use your abilities, use the Soul Ring, rearm, and then do it all over again. This way you maximize your mana usage. I'm not actually going to kill the tower just yet, but I see a fight's brewing, so I TP back. I don't know why I'm shopping. Oh, there you go, let's buy my 4-step. And I'm going to join this fight mid. So, I have an ally. Nope, they're going to cancel my TP, so I'm going to rearm. And I'm going to go in again. A little bit slow, but either way, I'm going to get there, and this is going to be trouble. 4-step forward, laser to start, rockets to follow, and that's a kill. Am I going to stop? I am. I could, if I had actually lasered the Undying. Oh, we're going to go. Never mind, we're going to kill him. So when you rearm, it rearms the 4-staff, which means you can really chase well in these fights. At this point in the game, it's only 15 minutes in, but they can't really do anything now. There's just the only way they're going to win a fight. Well, also I should mention, the 4-staff is really good this game because they have a Riki. And if you get caught under the smoke cloud, that's one of the best ways to kill off Tinker in the game. But with a 4-staff, you can just 4-staff yourself away. If Disruptor throws you into his Thunderdome, as I like to call it, you can always just back off. So that March wasn't quite in the right position. A note I'll make about March machines, even though this is a laser rockets focused build. Oh, are we going to go in here? We are going to go in there. And they're fighting under the March, which you can see also is very difficult to deal with. Oh, but the point I want to make about March Machines is whenever you cast it, they come from behind Tinker. So if you want to actually do damage farther ahead of you, you want to turn around before you cast it. And ideally cast it at a sort of an angle, so the little March, all the little Marches are more likely to hit different creeps. Actually, I don't know if that matters in Dota 2. I know in Dota 1 it was an issue. But you can just see the constant mobility. I even popped a dust thinking Riki might be here, but he actually just disconnected. We're only 17 minutes in. I'm beyond godlike, but it's not even the score that matters. It's just look at the map right now. We have a Prophet, which certainly helps, but all the lanes are pushed. They're constantly dying or they're sitting inside their base. Even when you're not killing them, they're not getting any kind of farm. And if they show up to defend a tower, now I have max March machines. A 4-staff away, and that's the power of the 4-staff is if you're afraid about them getting ganked, you can just 4-staff away and then TP out immediately.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Again, I don't even think I played particularly well this game, but it just shows you if Tinker is a good lane, he can really make things miserable. And what are they gonna do? I 4-staff away. I can actually turn this one around, possibly another 4-staff, and I'm just gonna TP out. And I think I get away here. Yep, just barely. So, using the fog to your advantage, using the 4-staff to try and juke. You can also do much more clever things like 4-staffing up cliffs, and that's a better way to escape. But either way, if they don't kill you, you're back to full health, back to full mana within what was that, 4 seconds? Kind of insane stuff. So if you go this build and you have this kind of a start, the traditional items you go for in Tinker that you see a lot of pros go for is some sort of mobility item like a Blink Dagger or 4-staff. And then they normally go back for the big utility disable items. Things like Shiva's Guard, Yule's Scepter, or especially Scythe Device. This time around, I'm going to opt for something a little different. Because I feel if you already have a lot of bursts and you get even more, then it just makes things so much easier for you. I thought Riki was here. Oh, I thought he was chasing me, but in fact he was hiding, so I don't fit him with the gun. But no big deal. We get another kill. And I will also mention, if you have a Tinker on your team, something really important is to have good wards all around, because then his rockets can hit uphill. And that's something I'll see a lot of pros. Pro teams will often put a ward on the high ground in the mid lane very early on. But that allows you to make sure your rockets can hit, because again, you do need vision to do it. So I'm up to 3k. I've just about got one of my favorite items to build in the game. And no dust, so he should be okay. No, there you go. There's your dust, and he's absolutely screwed. So we're 19 minutes in. I'm 13:05. But yeah, I'm about to build a Dagon, I believe. Now, you'll see Dendi really favors Blink Dagger as well on Tinker, even when he goes for laser rockets. He just likes the pure mobility, and you don't need a Dagon, but it's a fun item to build. When you're this far ahead, I think, you know, the only thing better than one laser is 2, and now you get red and blue, so it's just perfect, really. But at this point, again, look at where they are positioned on the map. I don't have marching machines, or I wasn't really using it that much. They just can't leave the base. There's nothing they can do. If they show up mid, well, there are a couple things they can do. One of them is not to let me get the start, but more importantly, they could try and smoke gank me. It's just very dangerous to do so, and also very hard to lock me down. Again, not that many reliable disables on their team, and they're also damn squishy. But if you're not going to kill Tinker, he's going to keep on pressure your lane. So, the March being spam, I'm going to speed this up, because at this point, it's pretty much out of reach for them. We'll just see some fun, me killing a lot of things actually going on here. But if you have questions, my moderator, Bodhi, will be collecting them. Feel free, if you haven't already done so, to start posting in the chat. And as soon as we're done going through this replay, I'd be happy to take 10 minutes or so, 5-10 minutes, and answer some questions. Hopefully we'll have some good ones. I know this was a one-sided game, and a lot of you will probably be saying, oh, you had a really easy lane. But the thing about it is, yes, that's true. And I will say this build has some weaknesses. It's if you don't have a good start, if you get owned early, you can't go formation, so there's no backup plan. If your opponent's more coordinated, it's not as effective. But when it works, man, is it a pleasure to play with. So in this game, it's working out pretty damn well. And I will say I've won games with marching machines. It's not really exciting. It's just sort of like slowly and painfully your opponents die. Now here I actually probably could have fought, but I was pretty low. In fact, I probably could have had a quad kill if I was Dendi. But I'm played scared. I back off. I'm gonna try and go in. Gonna try and find this. What's disruptor? But I'm not gonna catch him in the end. Again, when you're riding this kind of a kill streak, if you die, that's a lot of gold and a shitload of experience going their way. So sometimes it's better to play it safe. This game was pretty much out of reach for them anyway at this point. In fact, it was very, very out of reach for them at this point. It won't always be this one-sided, is what I'm trying to say. So we fast forward. There's one really cool play that I want to show you guys. I felt like I was actually good at Dota when I made this play. That's a while ahead though. So again, when my team isn't there, I'm just farming, trying to be as efficient as possible with my time. Something you can do, whether you go for this build or the March build, ask your teammates to stack the Ancients for you. Now you can do it yourself if you're mid. You can, right before the rune spawns, go pull the stack and then go check the runes and be very efficient with your time. But even better is if you have something like a Chen or even a Prophet who can send a summon there to do it for you, or just a support. And then you can farm it together with them. So it's something, all I wanted to do was kill things this game, so I just didn't really care about it, but if you want to be as efficient as possible, even if you go for this build, stacking Ancients is still very viable, and a pretty effective thing to do. You can also see my team is having a little bit of trouble getting their hands on farm between me and Prophet. So at this point I go for a Blink Dagger. And between Blink as well as Force Staff, your range is like 4 screens, because Rockets already has about 2 screens of range. And then on top of that, you have the Blink Dagger, Force Staff, and you can rearm the whole Kit Kat and Caboodle. So I blink away, I see them all coming in. I don't really want to get caught. It certainly helps to have a Crystal Maiden there. Oh, no, sorry, that was our Chaos Knight. And here begins the pain for their team. I got my Force Staff, I've got my Blink Dagger. And they were not prepared for that. They wanted to try and gank me mid. So with this Blink Dagger, like what you'll see a lot of pro players do, even if you go for the March build, is like Bulba to me is the one who does this the most aggressively. He'll TP in right next. By the way, Bulba is my personal favorite finger player. Although Dedi's had some great games. There's some fantastic other plays. He's just to me the most fun to watch. But he's very aggressive. He'll TP into a creep wave, and then immediately he blinks away the second he TPs in. So you can do this. Your opponents might even try and go on you, but if you're quick enough with your reactions, you can just blink out before they can even attack you, and then you can defend towers way easier. So I had my Dagon one, I have my Force Staff, and I have my Blake. Now, I didn't go for any utility, so if you go for this build, if you go for this very aggressive killing style, you need to keep the pressure up. Even if you're not killing them, you need to keep the kills or the aggression happening. Because if you give them any room to farm, well, you're not going to scale that well with this build. Dagon 5 can be strong late game, but if they get things like BKB, or a pipe or something like that, then it becomes less effective. Now, I will say, I've seen Dendi do a variation of this build as well, which I found very interesting. And you can just see the burst damage is too much for them. At this point, it's just killing much. But I've seen Dendi do a variation of this build where he doesn't get laser, he only gets 1 point in it, and then he opts for stats. And the reason he does that is because he goes for Dagon 5. And Dagon 5 we saw him do it in 1 pro match, I believe. The thing about Dagon is there's no cast animation. With laser, there's this big wind up to it. So when you look at a 1-second rearm time, it actually becomes way more efficient to use a Dagon if you level it up. Now, it's an expensive item. Dagon 5 costs over 8k, actually the most expensive item in the game, if you count the upgrades. But, if you can get to it, if you can get up to that Dagon 5, then sometimes I would recommend try that build as well if you really want to go for the burst damage. You don't have to go for laser rockets, you can go for the March build, and then later on just build a Dagon as well. So that's another option for you. Because again, laser has a very long cast animation, and Dagon does not, so it can be more effective in team fights. But we're gonna see, I TP in, I get smoked, No big deal. I could have 4-stepped out of that, but I'm a noob, so I just walk out. Then I blink away. Probably could have just blinked forward to kill him. I don't know why I didn't. There we go. The dagon will kill him off. So I think that pretty much covers this game. From here on out, it's more or less just fountain camping. Again, I know a lot of you guys in the chat, I noticed there's some people flaming this build, say it would never work in pro games, it only works in pubs. Well, guess what? Most of you who are watching this are playing in pub games. So try it, have some fun with it, and whether you want to make your own tweaks to it, Tinker is very flexible. So there's a lot of ways you can adjust the build. I mentioned Dendy's adjustment, where he only gets 1 point in laser, uses March to farm, and he builds a dagon for his burst damage instead of using laser to provide it. You can go for the March build. There's so many ways to play Tinker. Such a versatile hero. And it's funny because he doesn't have any stuns. He's not a support. But he can provide so much to the team regardless of what role he's in. So, with all that being said, I hope you guys found this educational. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a very one-sided game again, but I just wanted to show you that Laser and Rocket can be a lot of fun, especially in pubs. And I think it's even legitimate in pro games as well. It really depends on your laning situation, though. If you're in a 1v1, or if you're in like a 2v1 or 3v1, where you have a difficult lane, then it's not going to be as useful. But if you have the right lane, we'll see even Bulba, who popularized that March of the Machines ancient stacking stuff along with EG. He still sometimes goes for this. He sometimes goes for Laser Rocket. So if the man who sort of created this March first build, or at least the first one to popularize it, isn't always going for it, then Laser Rockets can be legitimate. So with all that being said, question time. Who's got questions for me? Mattiads, what would you recommend him to? Oh, what? Okay, Mattiads was asking what should Storm have done in this lane. Well, you don't want to be very aggressive. I think the big mistake that Storm made in the lane was he tried to fight me one-on-one. He also spent a lot of time going for runes, and that's great, but it's delayed as level 6 a lot. So maybe that's a situation where you don't want to be as aggressive. Don't try and fight. If Tinker goes for March, you don't want to fight under the March, but you can last hit better, and when the March is not up, then you can be aggressive. Especially before Tinker at 6, because when March is down, it's got a long cooldown. I believe it's 25 seconds. But if he goes for Laser Rockets, you don't want to try and trade hits with him. Ask for a gank as well. I don't know if they really had any good gankers on their team. They had an Earthshaker and a Disruptor, so maybe ask one of those heroes to come in. Because again, Tinker is very killable early game, especially with that build. The March build will help you a lot more against tower diving. It punishes it a lot harder. But if he goes Laser Rockets, don't be aggressive. Try and get 6, and try and avoid missing any experience. Because if you do so, then you're going to fall behind. And the longer your 6 is delayed, the harder it is for you to deal with that Tinker. The other thing I would say is, you don't have to sit in the lane. You can also set up ganks in other lanes. Now, he was so under-leveled, he was so behind, he couldn't. But if he had just waited for 6, maybe he's not going to kill me mid, because Tinker does so much more burst damage than Storm. But maybe you go and kill the other lanes, and leave Tinker alone, because really, what's a Laser Rocket Tinker going to do if he's not getting kills? Not a whole lot. Arizal asks, what idler items can work with this other than Dagon and Blink? Anything can. That's the versatility of Tinker. You can start off with the ganker style build and then transition back into utility items like Yule Scepter, Scythe of Vice. If you want to be a disabler for your team, you can transition to pushing teamfight items like Shiva's Guard, which is great, by the way. Shiva's and March of the Machines, use both of those and it'll kill Creepwave instantly. Well, not instantly, but the Creepwave will die very quickly, and so you can flash farm all over the map. If you want to maximize your burst damage, I mentioned Dagon 5. You can even get an Ethereal Blade, which, by the way, if you ever can farm an Ethereal Blade and a Dagon 5, and then say a Blink Dagger, Boots of Travel. I know I'm talking about like 20k gold, right? But if you could ever farm it, man, that is probably the most fun I've ever had on Tinker. I had one game, Dagon 5, Ethereal Blade. You can kill everybody, even hard carries who don't have BKBs will just die almost instantly from full health. And the beauty of it is, you can, if you're really quick, it's about 1 second or so in between each Ethereal Blade Dagon 5 usage. So within a matter of seconds, you've done, I don't know, 2,000 plus damage through nukes, and that's not counting rockets or lasers as well. Although, like I said, normally if you go for that build, you don't even want to use laser, just because the cast animation is so damn long. With such a high mobility hero, what is your best option if there's very little to be accomplished? Such as, like, how do you want to spend your time? This question from Lemon Ride. Well, I think you just sort of want to try and assess the situation, and it's going to change from moment to moment in the game. The beauty with Tinker is you can decide you're going to go farm, and then realize there's actually a team fight happening, and show up, I mean, not instantly, sometimes you have to go back to Fountain, but about as quickly as any hero on the map can. So, just always be ready. I think the best advice is, Well, I mean, it depends on the situation what you want to go for, but just the key point is you can always change. So, oh, I'm going to go farm. Oh, wait, there's a team fight. I'm going to rearm. Or I'm going to use my soul ring. I'm going to rearm. I'm going to TP in and join that fight instantly. So you can switch on a dime. But to be more specific, let's say your teammates are pushing by themselves. Or let's say your team's kind of spread out. They're not really positioned to get kills. Then you'll probably want to farm. If your team's fighting, you probably want to join the fight with this build. So if your team's there, if you have the numbers you need or you see kill opportunities, go for them. But otherwise, don't waste your time because you do need to get more to the machines. You do need to get more levels to be useful to your team in the mid to late game. Quagabo HBS. All right, my big question. He said to just go out and gank a laser rocket tinker early. What are you supposed to do against a March tinker? Good question. It's still the same idea, right? March tinker is hard to tower dive, but until he hits level 6, he's not going to be able to rearm it anyway. So when March has gone cooldown, you have about a 20-second window or so to go in and gank him. And on top of that, it's not necessarily going to kill you. Like, it does a lot of damage, but it's not a guaranteed kill just because he uses March. If you're tanky, if you have a lot of chain studs, you can still kill him. Trust me, it only gets worse. If you don't kill him early, Tinker will be a much bigger problem in the mid game. Unless you have someone who's great at dealing with him, who's getting a lot of farm. Like I mentioned, Storm can actually really counter Tinker if he gets good farm early on, because then he can zip in, grab you, and then even though you're often split pushing, solo ganking all over the map by yourself, Storm will punish that kind of positioning. Other heroes that are great for dealing with, I mentioned Riki, Bounty Hunter as well. Any of these invisibility, like assassin type heroes, Klakes would be another example. Because especially in pub games, your opponents are going to make mistakes, right? They're going to be out of position, and that's where you can punish that with these heroes that kill quickly and can disable you from casting spells in the case of Stealth Assassin. Mighty Bongos asks, if you have a bad start on this build, what should you do? One big thing, ask for ganks. Ask your team to try and come help you, because if you don't have a good start on this build, you are useless. You can go back for a point or two in March, and that's the other option. Actually, let me put this another way. One option is ask for ganks to try and get kills, which is the whole point of this build. The other option is to just transition back into March, because even 2 or 3 points in March, it's not going to be enough to farm stacked ancients quickly, but with some help from your team, maybe in a few trips, you can do it. So I would say try and get some help. If you can't get that help, transition back into March build. If you're not going to do that, then maybe buy some Smoke to See, go for ganks. But this build, make no mistake about it. If you go for this build, it doesn't work out in the early game. You're probably gonna have trouble getting your way back in the game. So it's not as versatile as March. That's the downside to it, and that's why I'm saying, that's why you don't see pros go for it too often. Is because if it doesn't work, you can't just go and farm ancients. You need more levels. So I've even seen Bulba once in a while will get 2 points in March or 2 points in laser. 1 or 2 points of rockets. I forget the exact details of it, but then he had some points in all the abilities, and that is kind of an option. If you want to get a few points in laser and rockets early, you don't have to max them, although it's normally you would want to. But that's the ultimate point. Is Tinker is versatile in terms of item build, in terms of skill build, and in terms of how he contributes to the game. So that's all the questions that I have right now. Yeah, Nake's Assassin. That'll be another great example of a hero that can just show up out of the blue. The other way you could try and deal with Tinker, which I didn't talk about, is try and bait him or just anticipate his movements around the map. So if you see a big creep wave is pushing, it's a March Tinker, chances are very high that he's going to show up to farm that wave. So what you could do is smoke up behind the wave, or try and backstab behind the tower and pincer him and gank him that way. So anticipate his movements around the map and try and catch him out when he's solo. Sorry, I said 25 cooldown on March. That is wrong, apparently. It's one of these things where I don't even know most of the cooldowns for Tinker because they don't matter too much after the very early game because you're always rearming. But yeah, it is 35 seconds. So sorry that was incorrect information for me. The point is, it's a damn long cooldown. So once he uses it, you have a window to try and set up a kill on him. Okay, guys, that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all for great questions. Good turnout. If you enjoyed the show, please share the word, spread the word to your friends. I'd love to see bigger audiences each week. You'll get more questions and hopefully help educate some of the newer players out there. If you have any feedback on the show, as always, you can email me, ld@LDdota.com or thedotashow@gmail.com. Either way is fine, or just post on my Facebook or my Twitter. If you're not already following me on Twitch, you should be. That way you'll know whenever the stream goes live. Your other option, if you want to catch any episodes you've missed, dotacommentaries.com. We have a brand new website. Go check it out. And you'll see there's a section called the Dota Show at the top. Click there, and you have links to all the previous Dota Show episodes in order on one page. So no more, where's this VOD? I can't find it. That's the one-stop shop for everything. But if you just want to see my stuff in particular, youtube.com/LDdota, that's where the VODs for this will be. So if you tune in late, you can find them there. Your homework for next week, before I forget, I want you all to try out this old school Tinker build. Try laser rockets. You can make adjustments if you need to, but if it seems like a good game for it, give it a shot. It's a lot of fun. I gotta say, it's very refreshing as a change after playing so many March games, which to me can be very boring. A lot of pushing, a lot of farming, not very much killing. There's nothing more satisfying than pew 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 pew. So give it a shot. Give it a shot. I hope you guys will enjoy it. For tomorrow, we have picks and bans. Luminous is going to be doing a detailed, in-depth examination about how you can actually get your feet wet playing captain's mode, whether it's in matchmaking or in scrimmages. So if you want to learn more about how to approach drafts, how to make good decisions in drafts, you can check that out, twitch.tv/luminousinverse, or just go to dotacommentaries.com. That will be at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, 4 a.m. Central European Summertime, tomorrow on Luminous's channel. For me, my next episode will be an in-depth look at the Suicide Lane. That'll be on Wednesday. It was originally supposed to be today, but I flipped the episodes because I was ready for Tinker. I wasn't ready for the Suicide Lane. So if you want to check that out, that'll be here, same time, same place, on Wednesday. Tomorrow, though, it's all Lumi. So again, if you guys enjoyed, spread the word to your friends. But that's going to do it for today, guys. Thank you all very much for tuning in. I will see you, not tomorrow, but I will see you on Wednesday for an in-depth look at the Suicide Lane.